What's going on, Pod Squad? Thank you for listening to the episode of Stripe It Like It's Hot. So I'm going to be talking about focus today and why focusing will make or break your company. Now, in an extreme case, it'll break, but a lack of focus is what plagues so many business owners, and this is myself included. Like, real moment here for a second, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. A lot of the times these solo podcast episodes are things that I'm thinking about and I'm working through myself. Okay, sometimes it's like something one of my clients is working on. Often it's like things that are like, this is not a naturally, it's just not a natural thing for me to be able to focus on a task. I'm not like diagnosed ADHD or whatever, but I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things going on, and focusing is what cripples companies. It prevents them from growing, because if you're caught in this loop where you're always got all these ideas and you can't sit down and focus on the things that actually matter because you can't see why it's important, it'll just be a struggle. So is this you? Do you wake up as a business owner, especially during peak season, and start the day with absolute dread? Right? So maybe you go to bed and you're like, okay, I feel good. Tomorrow's a new day. Ready to get after it. And then you wake up and you're like, oh man, I have 17 things that I have to do and I don't even know which way's up anymore. They're all important. I don't know where to start and I have no idea what to do, right? So a big reason why owners, founders in particular, so small companies where maybe the owner's trying to get off the equipment, big reason why they struggle with this and why they feel stuck is because a lot of them are stuck in what I like to call the operator feedback loop. Okay. This is very common, especially if you started your company from the ground up. The operator reward feedback loop is the continuous like hit of dopamine. So like the good feeling that an operator gets when they complete a job. Okay. So if you were ever an employee at a striping company and then you started your own striping company, you will be the worst offenders of this. And I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, you get satisfaction and the reward internally in your mind from doing the job. And anything that's not doing the job, not painting the lines, not putting down the sealer, not fixing the pothole, anything that's not that is like, it's tough for you to get that reward because you're tied into the operator feedback loop, right? Your reward is directly tied to getting the job done. And that like puts you in this like kind of a rough spot, because all the things that you need to do as a business owner to work on the business and to, even if it's just like working on simple sales and marketing, a lot of the people that I talk with, some of the clients I work with, they struggle with this. They're like, I know that there's things I should be doing. I know that I should be doing more, but then you get like unclear on what that something is. And then you get frustrated because at like 2 p.m. you haven't got any of the things that you think you should have got done. And then you just build up this anxiety and you have this like task hopping breeding with anxiety and lack of focus. And it just creates this other loop where it's like, I don't like this loop I'm in because it just makes me anxious and there's so many things to do. So I get more happiness in the operator feedback loop. Now, completing jobs is important or you won't have a business. But if you're an owner listening to this and you are stuck in the operator feedback loop, you are going to have a really hard time growing your business, right? Because your identity and your pleasure sensors, your dopamine is tied into getting the job done. So I've said this before on the show, like, one of the ways this was manifest for me, because I founded my company from nothing, right? I didn't know how to run a striping machine when I bought the striping machine. I just bought one and figured it out and sold a couple jobs and away I went. And then, 6 years later, here I am. But when you start that, your entire work identity is in like, I have to do this job. This job needs to get done. This customer wants the job done. I'm the one to do it. And you are naturally put in the operator feedback loop, especially if you don't have business experience before. And so the moment comes when a lot of people who listen to this channel want to get off of the tools, or at least reduce the time that they're spending in the field, but then they really struggle with it because they're like, this is so like not natural. It's out of the operator feedback loop. The first time that I had 2 employees go do a striping job where I wasn't there, I literally sat home and cried. It was so weird to me. Like, I didn't, like, everything that I had built to that point was tied into Cam does the job. I run the striping machine. Every customer, every 5-star review I ever got was because I was on the tools, on the machine, on the Graco, striping the parking lot. And then all of a sudden 2 people are not doing it, or 2 people are doing it that are not me. And it was weird, it made me uncomfortable, and I hated it. And I knew that like I had to go through a ton of mental battles, man, because I'm like, my employees are going to think I'm lazy. They think I'm just going to put my feet up on the desk and cash the checks. And like, then came the anxiety of like, well, I owe it to them. If I'm not going to be on the job site, I better make really dang sure that I'm actually doing something to grow the business and, produce some sort of result so that justifies why I'm not there. Like, I had so much head trash from this. One of the clients I work with is going through this right now. It's kind of what sparked this episode. And he said, like, in his previous business, he's like, dude, he was in like a construction company of a small construction company. And he's like, when I had 2 guys finishing the job, I was literally on a park bench in the park, and I'm like, not comfortable. Like, this is weird. So he's not a baby like me and didn't cry, but like, it's weird. That feeling is the operator feedback loop. And when you're stuck in that, it messes up your focus, because you don't know what to focus on when you're not doing the feedback loop of the operator. You're like, I know that there's things I should be doing, but I don't know how to do them. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that can help you. Simple system. Okay. Simple. This is what I kind of went through with a guy that I'm working with. It's like the night before, the day before. So like the end of your work day, the day before, choose 3 things. 3 things to do that will drive revenue the next day. They don't have to be complicated. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They can be the same things over and over. But the point is, you're going to go through 3 specific activities that will drive revenue. So as an example, it could be like, I'm going to phone 5 people. I'm going to make 10 connections on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to do like as much volume as you reasonably can. But the point is, like, consistency is king here, right? I will do the 5 dials. I will make the 1 post of content. I will follow up with those old quotes. It doesn't matter what those things are. You have to write them down, though. It doesn't matter if it's on your phone or on a piece of paper. Write down what those 3 things are that, like, I will do these revenue driving activities tomorrow before I can do anything else. And you hold yourself to that. You don't wake up with the feeling of like, oh no, I have 17 things to do. I'm going to start with this one. Oh my goodness, I got this email from this person. Dude, the world will still spin if you don't answer an email right away or respond to a phone call. You need to get those 3 things done first before you go do the other things, which leads into the second point in the system. When you do that the day and you write down those 3 things, you need to you have to do this. You have to visualize the success that you're doing in your activities. Okay. So it doesn't matter if it's like on a whiteboard, a sticky note, a piece of paper, a task list like Asana. Maybe it's in your CRM system if you have one of those. But like whatever revenue generating things you're doing, visualize it. You have to write it down, because when you're in the operator feedback loop and all of the reward sensors in your brain are tied to you doing the job, you're going to need to build a new reward loop, literally, because you don't have one. And this is what messes people up. And the loop that you're going to reward yourself in is doing the right activities that will drive the right result. Revenue generating activities do not pay off the instant you do them. It's not like striping a line in a parking lot. It's not like laying down the sealer for the day. It's like, it takes time. The calls, the LinkedIn connections, the posts on Instagram, the follow-ups, those things take time. And if you don't visualize the activities you're doing, you will never build a successful loop where you're like, I can see that what I'm doing is producing a result that I like. You know it. You know that it's going to produce a result, but you need to visualize it. My mentor says, of all the things he's ever taught me, it's like, you can't do the right actions and get the wrong results. The problem is when you're an owner-operator, unless you're visualizing those results, those activities, unless you can see it, it's going to be really hard for you to be consistent, and you're going to get distracted and you're going to get squirrel brain because you're like, but I also have all these other things to do. This is what causes business owners who are clearly need to just drive their sales and phone the dang people in their market and just do it relentlessly over and over again. They're like, no, I'm going to try a Facebook ad, or I'm going to tweak my website. I'm going to build a blog post on my website. It's like, dude, you're just picking the things that is going to give you some sort of immediate hit because it's an instant result. That's not what you need, right? So visualization matters. It will give you the trail that produces the right results for you. You cannot do the right actions, the right activities, and get the wrong results. Period. A couple other things to think about here. There's a mental frame that you need to think about in business, and it's sprints versus marathons. Okay. So I was fascinated to know, I learned this from another one of my mentors, Neil Glatt, who's come on the show before. He ran a marathon in, I can't remember the year, it was a few years ago. And he jokes about it. He's like, I don't look like a guy that runs marathons. And so he went through this whole process. He hired a coach. He did all this training. He hyped himself up. He had this really cool inspirational shirt. And I was listening to one of the keynotes that he talked about getting ready for this marathon. And the point of his keynote, he was speaking to a landscaping convention. And it was basically, in a nutshell, like when you want to do something, like run a marathon, you just put in the work. And if you put in the work consistently, you can accomplish pretty much anything you want to do. So a marathon, I learned in this keynote that was interesting. There are high-performing athletes, like semi-professional runners, who sometimes don't finish the marathon. And meanwhile, like there are plenty of people who have no experience, did very little practice, and might not be the most athletic-looking people, do finish the marathon. And I was like, how's that possible? How can a really athletic person not finish the marathon? And it's all because of how they view it mentally in their mind, right? So when you have a marathon and you run those 26 miles, there is a clearly defined end to it. And that can either help you or hurt you. Like it can help you in the sense that this is suffering, right? And you're an hour and a half into it and you're like, this really sucks, but I also know it's going to end. But it can also hurt you. And this is what trips people up, is because they get to like mile 5, mile 6, and they start to have a little bit of a problem. And they're like, dude, that finish line seems so far away, right? So marathon running is very mental for that. It's a lot of mental. So if you think about business though, business is a marathon in the sense that like you're not going to, you can't win business, but no one's certainly not going to win by just trying to build the biggest company as fast as possible. That's not the point. The point is you're trying to build something meaningful over the long term. That is a marathon. The only problem is in this marathon, there literally is no finish line. Like you can't win in business. There's no end. There's no finish line. It's an infinite game that never ends. The point of business is to keep business going as long as possible. That's it. So because it's that level of marathon that doesn't have an ending, it can get really, really mentally, like it could trip someone up when they stop thinking about what they're trying to accomplish in the long term because they just think, I'm never going to get there. When the reality is there isn't even a there to get to. The point is you have to make consistent, disciplined, revenue-making decisions and foundation decisions and recruiting and hiring decisions and marketing decisions and systems decisions. You have to make those every day consistently. That is how you succeed, not to a finish line, but that is how you grow and scale and build a foundation and something meaningful and all the things that you want to accomplish in your vision. So one thing that will really help if you're struggling with focus, if you're like, because it's amazing, man, how many business owners I've talked to that are like, I know I can do this, but I just like, I'm stressed out. I'm anxious. I get distracted. I don't know what to do. There's so many out there. And I'm by nature, I'm one of those people, right? So I totally get that. One of the things that you can do is to defeat the marathon is you break it down into sprints, specifically with your time, okay? So like challenge yourself with a sprint. So what is a sprint? A sprint is like you saying, I know that there's a key critical task that I need to do, follow up with quotes, whatever that revenue generating activity is, the thing that you keep putting off in favor of like tweaking your website for the 18th time. I'm going to lock in for 25, 30 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes, like start small. I'm going to lock in for 20 minutes. I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm going to shut off all the alerts, airplane mode. Like if you want to be a real gangster, you put on headphones, listen to some like white noise or brown noise. I'm a brown noise person on YouTube. I think it's amazing. And you mentally commit to doing that thing with zero distractions for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And at the end of the day, that 20, 30 minutes is not going to like reinvent the wheel. This is the problem. It's a sprint. So like nothing is going to drastically change in your business with 20 to 30 minutes of intense focus with zero distractions. The point isn't for you to change the world. The point is for you to start training yourself in the ability and how to focus on those things so that you can stack up those small wins over time, because it's the consistency of action that drive results in business. The flip side of this, the converse is like, what so many business owners go through, this fear, panic. They wake up and there's 18 things on fire and they don't know which one to do, and they just prioritize based on what's going to make them feel the best. And then they get to the end of the day and they're like, I don't really know what I accomplished today. I didn't really get anything. I got work done, but I don't know what I was actually like doing. And then they kind of like talk themselves off the edge in the evening. They go to bed and they're like, okay, I need to do this better tomorrow. And then they wake up and they're freaked out again and they're stuck in the cycle, man. You have to build a new set of behaviors and tasks and really a whole mindset and identity shift of like, this is how I'm going to make a change in my business. This is how I'm going to grow it with focus. So I would encourage you to start small, sprint 20 minutes. Like, I don't do this for 4 hours. So like, I'm starting to get better at this now, or like on my calendar, I will put in like, do not disturb. So people in the company know like I am solving the company's biggest problems right now for 2 hours or 4 hours. And I'm like, get locked in. I'm recording this podcast episode on a Tuesday. Matt, I made him listen to this phone call, like before we hit record on this episode, of like some problem going on in the company, of like jobs going south and change orders need to happen and the client's not happy. And like the sales guy is like, doesn't know what to do. And ops is ready to pull the crew off the job site 4 hours away. Like, you can get so distracted with that stuff. And yes, there's a time where you need to put out fires because you're growing a business, but there's also times where you need to focus. If I didn't focus, I wouldn't be recording this. I'd be taking more phone calls. I mostly played that phone call so you could like laugh at it. And yeah. And I wanted to help my sales guy. So it's normal if you're a business owner to feel like there's 18 things I got to do. Matt, you probably feel like that. There's so many things you got to do, and taxes and GST and all this crazy stuff. Like, and if you're like most business founders by nature, you don't mind taking some sort of risk and taking the chance. And so you have all these ideas, and sometimes those ideas all float around, and it's you don't focus on any of them because by nature, that's just who you are. That is okay. Okay, you're not a broken individual for doing that. You like normalize it, but also develop the strategies that you're going to use to overcome that. Start to shift your identity from I am the operator feedback loop, into the owner, where I need to get my time back so I can build things that are going to drive the company forward. It's uncomfortable, it stinks, and it's basically just a reshift of your focus. Because really, if you think about it, like if you're in the operator feedback loop, is there any chance, like if you're listening to this and like you're a small company, maybe it's just you, owner, operator, if a customer is like, hey, I really need this, job done by the end of the week. And so you're like, okay, I commit to it. I can be there Friday. So you show up, like you wake up Friday. Is there any part of you that's going to be like, I don't feel like doing it. I'm just going to work on my website instead. It's not a chance, right? Because you prioritize the operations and the jobs more than anything. You're trying to grow a business. So it's like you already have ruthless focus. You wouldn't let that job slip through the cracks. You are going to fight the battles for your customer. As your company grows and you can't do that entirely all on your own anymore, that's when your focus needs to shift a little bit. You can't live in the operator loop. We got to start building a new loop. And that's why I would encourage you to write down those 3 things at the end of the day. I got to get these done before I do anything else. And then lock in, sprint, right? Lock in for those 20, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. Last thing I'm going to talk about here to help you with focus. Numbers game and skills game. So here's why a focus can sometimes slip. You simply don't have the skills. And that sounds harsh, but like it's true. If you're a first-time business owner and you're selling and you're marketing and you're like building ads or whatever it is you're doing, you're probably doing it for the first time. You're hiring people for the first time. You're recruiting for the first time. So like nobody is born with these skills. That's why I'm a huge proponent of hiring a mentor or a coach or getting in some sort of networking group so you can be exposed to other business owners or someone who's done the thing that you're trying to do and they can help you, right? So when you don't have those skills, it's so easy to avoid it. Okay. So if you've never played guitar and I give you a guitar and I'm like, hey, go play guitar, like you're not going to be able to play right away, at least not anything that sounds good, right? If I tell you, here's how you fret a D chord, go play the D chord. Like you could probably like manually bend your fingers and like get it there and it's going to sound a little bit twanky, but like it's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable because you've never fretted a D chord before. So like you're just not going to know until you practice it and you develop the skill. And that's why good guitarists can effortlessly float from A chords to D chords to G chords, because it's muscle memory. It's a skill they've developed. Now, it's really easy to give up on a skill in the early days because it's uncomfortable and it's weird and it feels like you're not making progress, right? I'm sure we've all tried some sort of skill and after in half an hour, we're like, nope, hate it. Don't like it at all. I'll never be able to play guitar. I'll never be able to like sell door to door. Whatever the thing is. It really is just a skills thing. So when you start out as an operator, you are so ruthlessly committed because like if I want to have this business, I have to seal coat or stripe the parking lot. So you just force yourself to do it. And then you develop the skill over time. But it's easier when you've developed that skill to ignore all the other skills that you have to do. So like, Steph Curry is a great example of this. Amazing example. Like that dude has crushed every 3-point record in the NBA like ever. Like he is the GOAT of 3-point shooting in the NBA. It's not even close. And he's still playing, so he's still getting better. But like he didn't start out just naturally being able to shoot threes. And the really interesting thing about Steph Curry is to this day, the dude shoots literally hundreds of 3-point shots every day in practice, which like he's the world's number 1 3-point shooter. Not even close. He is the GOAT of 3-point shooting. And to this day, in his late 30s, he's still practicing hundreds of shots. He's developing the skill. He's tweaking where his elbow is. He's changing the pointing of his toes. Like he's getting so dialed in so that when the time comes to perform, right, he doesn't just throw up 80 shots during a game and just be like, well, I hope 20 of them go in. No, he's developed the skill so that every time he takes a shot, it's the maximum likelihood of it going in. We have to do the same thing with our skills in business. We have to take practice shots, and we're not going to be good at it at first, but you have to develop the skills. You have to put in the time. You have to get better. So think of your progression that way. When you feel that nagging feeling in you as a business owner where you're like, I don't want to do this thing. That's a good thing. Reframe it that if your brain is telling you, I don't want to do this thing, like that's a signal that you're on the right track because you're getting uncomfortable doing the thing in the skill that you haven't done yet. You need to develop the skill. Whole point of this, you need to focus. So one thing that really you can think about that might really help you is like, think about in your market, if there was a competitor in your market who started their business at the same time as you, had the same amount of experience as you when they started. So like just basically an equal playing field. If that competitor and the owner of that business was ruthlessly committed to learning the skills, reading the books, making the calls to the customers, even though he probably sucks at them at first, posting the content that you're not posting. Like imagine your competitor doing that, and then versus you who might just be like stressed out and anxious and not doing those things because you're like, what's the point of posting content? I got this stuff to do. Or like, I'm not good at sales, so I'm not going to do it. Which of those two companies is going to rapidly progress? It's going to be your competitor, right? Because they are putting themselves in the uncomfortable position of focusing on the things they need to do. So all you have to do, become your competitor. Just be that person who is ruthlessly focused on the things they need to do to grow the business. Can't stress it enough. This is just as much for me as it is for you. Even though I've come a long ways over the 6-7 years in doing this business, I still have more to go. I still struggle with my focus. I'm literally I forgot to spit it out before. I'm literally chewing like this energy and focus gum because like I'm always looking for like a little bit extra of an edge that I can get like ethically. I don't do anything weird like psychedelics or weird crap, but like I'm always looking for something that will give me a little bit more focus. So a lot of that just comes down to our behaviors, our mindset, and shifting our identity and how we need to focus on business. So if this helps you, or if you want to chat more about how you can get focused to grow your business, as long as you're in pavement maintenance, I'm your guy. Hit me up. We'll talk about focus, talk about business, and get you making more money. Focus is needed to grow the business. Your spreadsheets and your systems for your business suck, and you might be losing a ton of money in your paving or your pavement maintenance business. Look, our company recently switched to One Crew, and it is the only industry-specific, all-in-one platform for paving companies, for pavement maintenance companies, striping companies. It doesn't matter if it's like the sales cycle or if you're estimating or even if you're trying to manage your crew, One Crew has features for all of that. It is unbelievably effective. So if right now you're doing a lot of your estimating on spreadsheets and at the end of the day or the end of the year, you don't even know if you're making a lot of money, I guarantee you One Crew will help you. It is so easy to make more money with this software. You'll love it. Here's the best part. Listeners of this show get $500 off of the setup fee if you go to getonecrew.com/stripeit. $500 off of your setup fee. Take a free demo and have a look for yourself, man. Getonecrew.com/stripeit.